Hey, I broke a shoelace today. Because we watched Season 7, Episode 17, The Friars Club. So, Katy.
Hello, Derek.
How did you like The Friars Club?
About that much.
Apparently enough to do 2 podcasts about it.
Listen, my mic was off. We recorded about 10 minutes of audio.
Oh, we got to talk about this turd burger twice.
Let's do it.
So I don't think it helped that going into it, I told you that it was the worst rated episode of Season 7.
Yeah, but it far... What's the opposite of exceeded? Unseated my expectations.
It
Failed to meet even that low bar that you set.
I went through to see how many worse episodes are still to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about trying to announce okay, this is the worst episode we have left. And then as it ticks off, we'll eventually
So, are we... I assumed that after 7 seasons, they'd be good episodes. Or because Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld aren't writing them anymore, it's just do whatever.
we'll talk about it when it happens, but next season, when Larry David leaves the show, there's I feel like there's a change in tone of some of the things that happen. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias. So you think the later episodes are better because you've seen them more recently.
I don't know.
Season 1 was
I have no
rough.
recollection at all. Yeah.
Peak Seinfeld was maybe season 4, but maybe it kind of dipped and then back up in
season 6,
season 8 and 9.
I don't know.
Anyways,
so tell us about the Friars Club.
The Friars Club was written by David Mendel. It was directed by Andy Ackerman, and it aired on March 7th, 1996. Watcher.com ranked it at 105 out of 169. Screen Crush had it at 147 out of 180.
Mm-hmm.
And IMDb had it at 158 out of 180. It received a 7.7 rating out of 10.
Still a B.
So there was a bunch of people in this episode that we had already seen, but there was also, I don't know if you noticed, Katy, Rob Schneider in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Famous quote-unquote actor, quote-unquote comedian.
Technically movie star?
He played Bob Grossberg, and he was in things that technically qualify as movies, such as Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, The Hot Chick, and The Animal.
Have you seen any of those movies?
I've seen all of those.
I don't think I have.
He's gone super right-wing, anti-vax.
Oh, of course. I'm
You just gonna be on your phone this whole time, or
I'm looking up the Friars Club because when we did this 10 minutes ago, neither of us knew what the Friars Club was.
could wait for corrections on omissions. Pat Cooper also played Pat Cooper. He was the guy that sponsored Jerry. And then, what was the verb that I used last time? Because I felt like it was a good verb.
No idea. Reprimanded him, reproached him, dyed his hair, obviously.
It was a good verb.
This is great radio.
Yeah, that talk to Jerry in the Friars Club. He was a comic, but he was in a few movies, such as The Aristocrats, Analyze This, and Vegas.
Did he play Thomas O'Malley?
That's The Aristocats.
Mm-hmm.
He was in The Aristocrats.
Oh.
Have you seen The Aristocrats?
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing The Aristocrats again. Do you know what the Aristocrats is?
There's a joke and a bunch of people tell it.
Yes. I saw it in the theater.
So
I think I was the only one laughing.
So, like, the middle of the joke changes, right? Everybody tells it a different way.
The premise of the joke and the punchline are the same, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll watch that.
Okay.
For some reason, when you mentioned the Aristocrats, not the Aristocats, I thought of Human Centipede. Is that part of the joke?
I mean, considering the premise and the punchline are the same, you could make Human Centipede.
Okay. Is it related? Am I making a spurious connection here?
Without giving too much away, I'm going to say you're not making a spurious connection.
Okay. So a bunch of famous comedians tell a joke about into someone's mouth forever.
So it doesn't have to be about someone's mouth.
Okay. I know we really have to see this.
I'm pretty sure the first joke that is told in The Aristocrats is by George Carlin, and it does involve into someone's mouth.
Okay. All right.
Bonus episode?
I'm in. Yeah.
All right. Where are we? We also had Samantha Smith making her acting debut. She played Haley. She was in Jerry Maguire, Caroline in the City, and Two of a Kind. Let's throw it back to last week.
When I asked you if you remembered this turd burger.
Jerry goes to a Friars Club, and he's not wearing a sports coat, and so they loan him a sports coat that then is stolen. Well,
I think you nailed it. You didn't tell me that, and I'm going to use this word because it's in the episode, gypsies took the jacket.
Yikes. I didn't. I think if I had to have described them, I don't know if I would have used the word gypsies.
If they hadn't said it, I wouldn't have thought it either. They're circus clowns? They're vaudevillians?
Like
I don't know.
Eastern European
Circus folk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That don't stay in one place and travel around a bunch.
So can I tell you that when they first came out on stage, I thought one of them was Rob Schneider with a fake mustache on?
That would have been so much better.
And the joke was that, like, he's not deaf, but he's also a Smirnoff brother. Or whatever it is.
I'm yeah, that works for me. I don't know. I can't do the copywriting because I got all these juggling shows to do.
All these pies to bake. All right, I'll read the synopsis of this ridiculous episode. Jerry loses a Friars Club jacket. George wants Jerry to date Susan's best friend. Elaine suspects a coworker. Kramer sleeps 20 minutes at a time.
Pies to bake?
So they can throw them at each other.
Oh.
Anyway. So this is, one episode after Jerry is supposedly set up with Susan's other friend, Kathy Griffin? 1 or 2 episodes?
Yeah, that was last episode.
So it's just like, he's running through the roster of Susan's friends.
Were they being set up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. Like, I think George said, like, isn't she great?
She lives in Memphis. How would that work? I thought it was just like, oh, you'll really hit it off. Like, you're going to Memphis. I have a friend that lives in Memphis. Why don't you guys go?
You're a wacko. She's wacko.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I guess I assumed that a man and a woman couldn't be friends,
No,
and they were being
not.
set up. All right. So I generously wrote about half a page of notes, and then I tried to fill it out to make it look like I was paying attention.
I wrote more than I did last week, so I guess there's stuff here to talk about.
It's June.
This opening sequence by George is weird.
Yeah. Also, he's shouting so much that I didn't really understand why the wedding was postponed.
I guess the place was booked.
Oh, I see. He was so excited. I didn't get any of that.
Mm.
He just kept saying, "It's June. It's June." So weren't they supposed to get married in June?
No,
the first day of first day of spring. Yes. Okay. Because I wrote down it's spring and it's June.
I guess Seinfeld, like most sitcoms of the time, like they tried to maintain like episodes coming out for like that the episodes were like taking place in like present time, right? Like your Christmas episode comes out around Christmas,
Yeah.
your Thanksgiving. So like as this was getting closer and closer to coming out, like the beginning of spring, they needed to like figure out what they were going to do with this marriage, right?
Yeah, without having a marriage. Okay, so he's very excited. The wedding is postponed till June. He's also fired up about getting Jerry to date Susan's friend Haley.
They'll be just like the Gatsbys. Have you read The Great Gatsby since high school?
I didn't read it in high school, so yes, I read it last year or so.
They were doing sex things at their parties, right?
I don't remember books that I've read. I just know that I believe they killed someone driving drunk. I might be wrong.
Okay.
But it sounds like something rich people would do.
Okie dokie.
So there's a hearty hail and well met for Bob as he joins the J. Peterman team.
Oh, yeah. And they try to
Give him work?
haze him into joining the team by making him do all the copy editing of a episode, and he is hearing impaired and cannot hear the work that he's being given. So apparently David Mendel got this idea from a kid he was in school with that had a hearing aid. And whenever he didn't know the answer to a question and was called upon, he would just pretend not to like be able to hear what the teacher was saying.
If only someone had learned sign language.
How deaf do you have to be to learn sign language?
You don't have to be deaf at all.
But like,
so there's a young lady. I was going to say a kid, but I think she's probably in her 20s on Instagram, and it's basically this like same premise in these 4 videos I've seen, but she tries on all her mother's clothes and is like dancing in them. And there are these like crazy jumpsuits and huge hats and high heels and stuff. And I went to her page and she had the hearing aid emoji. So I was like, okay, I guess she's hearing impaired. And I'm going to cut all this out, but I saw one of her stories and she was speaking, but also signing. So like impaired enough that you need a hearing aid, but still able to hear.
Right.
But the story she was telling was that in high school, she was forced to take band.
Okay.
So her type of impairment is that she can't hear really high frequencies or really low frequencies. So they
it's all the mids.
Gave her a flute to play. She said, I didn't hear a single note I ever played in band.
Just like Beethoven.
I mean, that's when you need a conductor. Be like, you play this note.
What you need to do now is clip the latest episode of Taskmaster where Greg Davies and Nick Mohammed both admit that conductors are useless.
And Nick Mohammed was a conductor.
Yeah.
So even he says so.
Absolutely.
It does feel a bit smug, though, doesn't it?
But the conductors are smug, aren't they?
And a lot of the time, not needed.
When are they ever needed? I've watched orchestras, they're never looking up at that dickhead.
Well, I mean, I guess there's the 3 of you who believe that, and then the rest of the world who respects the maestro.
Do you want to talk about polyphasic sleep cycles?
Sure.
It's
all the rage.
They sound pretty cool.
Well, like in the medieval times, you would have like a time in the middle of the night that you woke up and did things. So there was like 2 sleeps.
I watched a YouTube video of a guy that tried to like switch himself over to a polyphasic sleep cycle, and it took him like a certain amount of time to get acclimated to it. But
What was his cycle?
So there's like many different cycles, and so what he did was like a 1 hour nap after work, and then he broke his like sleep into like 3 hours, like when you would normally go to sleep at like 11 and then be up for more, and then like
3 doesn't feel like enough.
And then like another hour or something, so he'd be like awake for a chunk of the middle of the night. And after a while he like got really used to it, and as long as he didn't miss any of those, he never
needed
felt
his
tired.
nap time.
He needed his nap time. Yeah.
I feel like 3 hours sleeping isn't long enough to get into like deep sleep.
Mm.
When you said he did that, I thought maybe 4, and then you wake up for a bit, and then another 4.
Well, looking at my sleep chart that my Fitbit produces, I go into deep sleep immediately, and then like in the middle of the night, I go into like REM and light sleep.
Interesting.
This was my theory about why I can like wake up earlier, because I've already done my deep sleep. So I was wondering, comparing it to you, if you were like
a
earlier
morning
in the night.
deep sleeper.
Yeah,
maybe. Let me wear your watch tonight.
Remember we tried that and it didn't fit
because my wrists are so dainty.
You put it on your ankle.
When I drive to the US tomorrow, they'll look down in the car and they'll see an ankle monitor on me.
Just making a break for it.
So at the end of this episode, we watched the tag. We watched, and we turned it off, and you looked over at me and you said, "Have fun in Syracuse." Was that a threat?
I don't know. It'll be more fun than watching this episode was.
Yeah. It will.
The next note I have, I think, is the only point that you and I laughed at.
Mm-hmm.
And
hold on. You want to say it together? 3, 2, 1. Somehow I dozed off and woke up in a pile of garbage.
Oh.
I also wrote down you just bought your own dinner. Yeah, that was good. Jerry doesn't seem really interested in her at all. Like, he's jazzed about the idea. And at the Friars Club, he's just talking to George the whole time.
Well, they make light of that the next day, where he's like, "Oh, she's in it. Yeah, she's in it." Well, I didn't talk to her very much.
Yeah. I wrote down, she's smart. Whatever.
I do have a note that I crossed out here where I said, she seems a little bit young for Jerry Seinfeld.
I had a question about Bob Grossberg.
Sure.
At the urinal.
Oh my God. I wrote in all caps, "mouth open at urinal?" ?
And his head's lolling back and forth. Like, what's going on? Is that normal?
That is not how I pee.
Okay. I was just checking.
Clip that. I think he was going no hands too. He had both his hands on his hips.
Oh.
Just wrong.
Steady flow, medium pressure. I also wrote down, after Kramer starts doing his 20 minutes of sleep cycles, "I've never felt so fertile. I'm mossy, Jerry."
Did he say my brain is mossy? Is that a good thing?
I don't know. That was a genuine laugh for me.
This is maybe a pretty good Kramer episode. Kramer's the bright spot in the episode. What else is good?
That is why it's a terrible episode. Kramer's the bright spot. Kramer being thrown into the Hudson River. And in my head, I was like, good.
Okay.
Not that I want him to die. It's just, his stories have run their course.
So this was filmed in a water tank.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they did two takes in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And there was divers in the tank, and they hid a oxygen supply in Kramer's clothing, but he didn't need them because Michael Richards is an experienced diver.
Really? I thought I saw maybe it was a string from the sack, but I saw something floating with him. Was that the breathing tube, maybe?
I don't know.
I wrote, I hate this show. I think I meant the circus act, not Seinfeld. Why are people clapping? It's not good. It's not funny. There's no magic.
The you want to be part of our show throwing the jacket off the balcony? It's a real jerk move.
This is a magic show put on by first graders.
And then going back there and being like, "Hi, you threw my jacket off the thing," and then being like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
2 guys already left. Maybe it was them. I don't know. Bye.
And wouldn't Haley, who worked for the show, know that this is a thing that happens? Being like, the process of getting the clothing back to the people would be established?
Some guy just has a jacket fall on him and he's like, bingo, a jacket that's 4 sizes too small.
Apparently gypsies aren't good at logistics.
Oof.
You'd think they would be with all that moving around that they do in pickpocketing.
So I wrote down, who the is Tommy and Joey? There are too many. Too many other people in this episode.
You just don't introduce these people, and they just exist. I mean, other people exist in this world, but
they haven't been properly introduced. I refuse to recognize them.
So you picked up that. So I guess she was like skunking around on her boyfriend. Like I'm
assuming
because she didn't want to go out and be seen with.
Because Joey would find out.
Well,
that's why she can't call 911. Because Joey would find out.
But Kramer had established like, oh, she doesn't want to go out. She just wants to stay in.
Yeah.
And like, oh, do you want to go to the movies or whatever? And she's like, no, just.
So she calls Tommy because some guy died on top of her.
How deep of a sleep do you like?
When we had a newborn and we're deliriously tired.
And could wrap you up in a carpet and throw you off a bridge before you wake up?
I mean, wrap me up in a cozy blanket. Let me lay down in a dark trunk that's quiet.
I assume his pulse was still going and he was still breathing.
Yeah, but they're not paramedics. They showed up to get rid of a dead guy. They're not checking his pulse.
I feel like people that are familiar with
the taking
disposing
of lives
of a body
would know how to recognize one.
Know what signs to check for.
That nut is always up to something. So question, at the show where Elaine and Bob are in the box.
Oh my God, yeah.
Why does he dive into her chest?
Well, he did star in a movie called The Animal. So he goes at her like a bear attacking a fertile salmon.
Yuck.
He very much mauls her.
He mauls her. Describe it. With his face.
Yeah.
So did he hear everything she said? And he's like, this is our chance to get busy in public where everyone can see us.
I don't know.
Are we just wasting our time making sense of this trash?
I think so. The words that he said made it seem like the balcony was private.
Yeah.
Which like maybe...
Not right at the front where everyone could see. And they do tricks that put the performers up there.
I was thinking maybe when they were like writing the script, they were thinking like I can envision a private balcony.
Sure.
But
this isn't
then the set that was built was not a private balcony, but they didn't change the script because, I don't know, maybe they knew that this was a turd burger.
And then it's a 2-part tag. It's the tag where Kramer shows up with police, ?
Yes, that so the one one of those guys was listed in the credits as detective.
Okay.
And that actor, his photograph that he has on IMDb
is this scene?
It's an episode of Star Trek.
Oh.
Which he was in, but it's him in like full alien makeup.
And then she calls her lawyer, Jackie Childs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exhausted. Let's stop.
Sure.
Did you know this is the only correction I can remember because I left my notes upstairs, that when we were talking about Kathy Griffin last week, the night we were recording the podcast, she was
died?
in this city.
Oh,
She was here.
could have had a guest star. Do you think we could get Kathy Griffin on to guest star on this episode? Guest star?
I think if we'd known and we'd asked her, maybe. I'm not saying she doesn't have better things to do. She's on tour. Cancer survivor. Canceled for the Donald
Canceled
Trump.
survivor.
Canceled survivor, exactly.
The big C's.
But I think if we'd asked her, maybe we could have gotten a phone call. All right. Next week we have the Wig Master. What's it about? You have no recollection at all.
No, it's if it's the episode I'm thinking of, I thought it was not so soon, but I think, who is it? Kramer or Elaine befriends the Wig Master for Jesus Christ Superstar.
Uh-huh.
Am I?
Remember when this show was about normal situations and people reacting ridiculously to them?
I guess. And then I think he convinces Elaine. Well, I don't want to spoil that.
Okay.
Anyways, you got anything else?
No.
I gotta go. I got a loaf of bread in the oven.
Not a euphemism.
Bye.
Bye.
Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?